There's your Farlap's page. I'm told I'm going to New Zealand tomorrow. I'm told that his skeleton is in the museum in Wellington. But I'm looking forward to that. Here's a Powerhouse Museum. A recent burst of activity, and it doesn't go back very far, but quite a few records. And National Library of Australia. Okay. So again, a recent burst of activity there. And you can see here some different alternative names, I guess that it was called that before. So I think that's all I have. Thank you very much.
So we do have time for questions. We'll be starting the next presentation at around 10:15. So we have a few minutes for questions. If you could raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll try and get a microphone to you. Questions for Tom? Yes.
Tom, I'm Anne Hathaway from QUT. I've got lots of questions, so I'll limit it to a couple. Firstly, you talked about merging identifiers. Is that something that anybody can do? Is it like a wisdom of crowds facility?
Yes, it would be anyone. Now you'd have to be registered, so you have to have. There's a login. OCLC runs a system called Web Junction, which is mostly oriented toward public, but it's a way to register. So you have to. Will have to tell us who you are. Although it's very easy to do that. So that lets us track things a little bit. It makes it a lot easier to roll if somebody, if one person starts to do bad things, it's easier to roll things out. But you're right, the idea is to make this as widely open as possible. You won't have to have a cataloging authorization to do this.
And ask your second, but
maybe right. One of the things you'll be able to see, I mean, I've always thought that we were too restrictive in WorldCat as to what we can do, and I think actually they're going to open things up a little bit more in WorldCat, but certainly not to this extent. But we're trying to borrow some of the wiki ideas that make this sort of thing possible, and that you'll be able to see you'll be able to see the edit history at the bottom of the page. If somebody's merged records, you'll be able to see those. You'll be able to undo that if you want to. So that gives you a little more freedom to change things if it's easy to change them back and to see who did them.
Do we have more questions? If we don't, Anne will be back on. Yes, we have one over here.
You've talked about name authorities. Would it be too off topic to ask you a question about subject authorities?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't do topicals, sorry. It's a whole, I mean, I could say a little bit. We don't do them. The Virtual International Authority file wants to do virtually any kind of name. So Farlap is fair game for VIAF eventually, although we're not doing them right now. When you get to these authority files in different countries, they slice the world up in different ways. So, but they all do seem to separate topicals away from other things. But you'll find things like James Bond, who in the LC is a subject, it's in the subject file, not in the personal names. In the German file, it's in the personal names, and it's so they don't make that same kind of distinction. So it's a little hard to divide them that way. So that in particular, the Germans will have links into the subject file in LC. So we'll pull in a few things, but in general, we're trying to stay away from general subjects.
Time for one last question. Did you want to have another go, Anne, or?
The record for Thomas Keneally was very rich. I mean, there were roles there.
Yep, right.
I'm just so surprised that there was so much data there. I mean, you're so dependent on what's in the bibliographic record, as you would know. and roles aren't necessarily available in
But,
bibliographic
you know,
records at this stage.
Right, and his roles look pretty good. You get some very strange roles, just because there isn't enough information to filter out the ones that are really sort of idiosyncratic to a particular manifestation. And that's a general problem. I mean, we're trying to do things at the work level, but all the information we have just talks about manifestations. It's the individual records. So occasionally you'll get like a Spanish summary or a summary for a Spanish audio version of a book will float up to the top, just probably because it was the only summary that was available. So you get some of these anomalies. You can tell this was machine generated if you look closely at most of the records. Thomas Keneally did look pretty good, I have to admit, but maybe because the records, the newer records, have more information than the older records. The records are richer now than they were 20 or 30 years ago. I'm not sure why his record looked pretty good. But of course, if it looked bad, I wouldn't have used his example.
Exactly. Tom, thank you very much for that journey through different projects that OCLC is doing with authorities. We have a gift for you that Emma will give you, and can you all join me in thanking Tom Hickey?
Thank you.